And a good Monday evening, everybody. We're grateful to be with you on this Monday night as we start another week of MacFile shows. We've got a lot of great guests coming this week, and we're so grateful to have our dear buddy James Akers to kick us off this week. On the line with us, as always, on a Monday night. We wanted to bring him on tonight because we've got a lot of breaking news from over the weekend. Of course, we had Flag Day yesterday, and then President Trump's birthday was yesterday, and also the framework for this U.S.-Iran nuclear deal that I wanted to talk with him about tonight. Now, we're going to take your questions at the end. Please, folks, be courteous and respectful to our guest. I hate to have to say that, but I do every show because there are some that don't get that. So please be nice out there, and we'll give you ample chance to talk at the end of the show, and we will appreciate you doing that. James, good to see you tonight. We are grateful, and man, I tell you what, a weekend. I was watching some of the celebrations go down with the UEC fight, and then we had the Knicks win the championship. It's the first time since 1973, and that was sort of wild. And then in the midst of all this, we've got a deal on the table that evidently the Iranians have agreed to in principle, that according to what J.D. Vance says, if they will uphold it, which is that's a big if, that we're going to have peace for the next 50 years in the Middle East. I don't hold that optimism about that. But what's your thoughts on this deal, and where do you stand on it? And, I think that most people with a reasonable mind, and again, I'm pulling for President Trump. I'm not pulling against him on this. But I think that the nation that we need to be concerned about tonight is Israel, because they seem to be getting caught in the crossfires of these things, and they're getting caught in the crossfires again tonight in this.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because nobody knows the full extent of the details that have been reached and just how firm an agreement it is, but the way I see it, Chris, is there are four areas involved, and the first and most important, the Iranians, and of course Trump said this is only for domestic consumption, that it isn't close to what the real agreement's going to say, but the Iranians are saying that Trump is going to pressure Israel and withdraw the Israeli troops from southern Lebanon. Most of the people on the American side say, no, that's not a part of the deal at all. Lebanon's not included in it, and Israel still has full right to respond to Hezbollah aggression in terms of when they fire rockets and those types of things. So that's one aspect of the so-called agreement, a memorandum of understanding that is supposed to have been reached, and we'll see how those details fall out. The second one is, and the most important to the Americans going into this thing, is some sort of an agreement that the Iranians would dismantle their nuclear weapons program. And again, from the Iranians' side, their announcements today were that there would be no change in their program, and the Americans believe that they are going to agree to a number of limits on their program and what they can do in that regard. J.D. Vance this morning, as you cited, said that there are a lot of technical details to be worked out yet, but that the United States holds all the cards. I'm not sure that I would agree with that. So there, the first two, one is on Lebanon, the second one is on the Iranian nuclear program and whether they're actually going to walk it back. And the third area is shipping through the Straits of Hormuz. On the Iranian side, they're saying that they still exercise control over shipping through the strait. On the American side, they're saying that the Iranians are going to agree to a freedom of navigation through the straits. It is interesting that for, I think, 13 of the last 14 days, gas prices have fallen in the United States, and all the stock markets were up today.
Yes.
In response to this, at least at this point, a notional agreement. And certainly Trump wanted to have something in hand when he went to the G7 meetings.
Yes.
And there's some conversation that the Iranians are going to sign the agreement in Switzerland. And so it's those areas that I am excuse me, sort of adopting a wait and see attitude to see what has actually been agreed to. And then there's a very interesting fourth area, and that is the release of funds that were frozen to the tune of several $1 billion. And again, the Iranians are saying that this money's going to come to Iran without any strings attached. The Americans are saying there are all sorts of strings attached. And interestingly enough, former President Obama
yes.
weighed in this morning and said that the agreement offers no real difference between the agreement that he had agreed to many years ago during his administration. The critics of that statement will say he needs to protect his legacy. A lot of it's hooked to that agreement, and also he's opening his personal library in Chicago, I think, this week, and so he doesn't want any taint on his legacy as that library opens up. So it is an interesting, as it always is in the Middle East, ball of wax when it comes to really sorting out what is happening. And the American press has gone above and beyond to portray everything as a giant American defeat. That
I know.
And I just don't see it that way. The IRGC's capabilities have been severely diminished. The Navy's gone. The Air Force is gone. And there's widespread speculation that once this whole specter of American airplanes flying overhead is ended, that the population of Iran is going to ask those in charge for an accounting of what has happened. But we'll see. We will see. It's there's no longer, the Ayatollah's no longer there. Several layers of leadership have been destroyed. Many of the facilities, military-related facilities, have been destroyed. The IRGC has been severely hampered, and so it's just interesting and hard sitting at a present tense table to sort of evaluate this thing. It'll be interesting to put a bookmark right here, then come back to it in 5 years and see what was actually accomplished.
Yeah,
so
all of that.
More than you may have wanted me to talk.
No, that's perfect. No, that's exactly what I wanted you to talk about, and all those things I want to unpack with you a little bit. First of all, I want to talk to you about because the media, and I want to talk about Obama first. I hear today there was a report out on X that his contractors are not happy. He's not even paid his contractors that are building that library. And I've never seen a more scumbaggery president, X, than Barack Obama. This deal is nowhere in the universe of what he offered the Iranians. There was no accountability with his agreement. The Iranians were given $150 billion on a tarmac, and they were basically given the wink of an eye and say, okay, well, this is a paper tiger. You promise us not to make a bomb, with a little pinky promise, a little wink. And that's the Obamas. James did nothing. The Obama White House did nothing to challenge the Iranians, and they were still shooting at our ships, still exporting terror. Joe Biden comes along. Look, Trump cripples them. Soleimani is a pile of dust. The head IRGC guy, when he in his first term, Trump went after the Iranians with him, and then Biden comes in and basically gives more money to this regime. I think Obama needs to set this one out and shut up. That's my personal opinion. That's on my soapbox tonight. But I think that it's not. I don't think that this is within a million miles universe of his agreement. Do you? I don't see that.
No, I think he's trying to sort of resurrect his legitimacy in terms of the agreement. And it was a terrible agreement that he reached with the Iranians that did nothing to restrict their activity whatsoever, and obtained from them only the vaguest of promises that somewhere down the road that they would delay their program or whatever. It's interesting to me. I was reading an article the other day, Chris. The person who leads the universe in terms of hits and follows on social media is Elon Musk. He's way far ahead of everybody else. But you know who is second? Is Barack Obama.
Wow.
And that's sort of a scary thought, isn't it?
It is very scary.
And but at any rate, he was forced to come out of the basement this morning and defend his program. But what he's trying to do is resurrect a little bit of self-reputation and image, because if this thing turns in Trump's favor, he is really going to look bad in hindsight. So you have to sort of factor all of that into what he was saying today.
But, a question has to be asked, James. Why isn't Bush Jr. saying something? Why isn't Clinton saying something? Why isn't Biden? Of course, Biden's Biden. But, you've got all these ex-presidents. Clinton and Bush Jr. are really the only two that are alive still. They came up against Iran. I don't know if you remember this, back in the Iraq War, the Dems were threatening to impeach Bush Jr. in 2004 because after we went into Iraq, Bush Jr. sort of hinted that he was going to go into Iran and deal with the mullahs then. And the Democrats put a stop to that, and they said, if you do that, we're going to impeach you because you're starting a war that you have no right to start. And now it's almost like these Dems are trying to rewrite history. I just want to hear from Clinton and Bush, because they sit by and let these Iranians do this stuff for 2 decades. Bro, this goes back 47 years. This goes back 47 years to Jimmy Carter. No president has addressed this situation except Donald Trump. And I think, I'm just going to say it like I feel, I think Barack Obama was paying bribe money to these mullahs. I think they know so much. I think that he was making so many backroom deals to them. And I don't think they no more had any kind of idea or feeling that they had to stop doing what they were doing with him than Adam's house cat. And I think that all that money was to keep their mouth shut. And like you said, and see, this is what I feel about this thing now. Katie McFarland, who was, she's very wise. She's a lady, a female, strategist, defense person. And she made a statement over the weekend or this week that the Iranian pattern has always been, and I'll let you chime in on this, to delay, to regroup. In other words, take your hit. Like, go ahead and acquiesce and say, yeah, we agree to whatever you want us to agree to. But knowing good and well, they know this, that President Trump is not going to be in office after 2029. And the Iranians, James, are willing to wait us out. They're willing to wait this thing out and say, hey, we'll suck it up for 3 years, but you get a weak president in the United States, and you know that what's going to happen, buddy, is somebody's going to unravel everything Trump's done. These mullahs are going to be laughing their heads off. And all this crap that you hear from Obama, to me, it's just such blabber. And I think that if I'm Trump, he's got to find a way, and maybe you can help me here. How do you keep this agreement in a way, or write it in a way, that it doesn't ultimately matter even who comes next, that they have no wiggle room in this? Or is that an impossibility? Because that's the only thing I'm concerned about tonight. It's not so much right now. I think he's been a master handler of this situation. I've not agreed with everything he said about it and done, but I have to give him credit that he's at least tried to rein these evil you-know-whats in. But there has got to be a way to make sure that when he's gone, that some other president will come in and unravel everything he's done. And I'm not so sure you can do that.
Well, yes, I understand what you're saying, and I certainly think that there's going to be a whole-scale pivot, or at least a very strong possibility of it with the next administration. But there's been a couple things that have changed. Number one, the Iranian economy is just about ready to go into the tank. They're hanging on by their fingernails. They have major power problems. They have major water problems. They have a restless population. There's only so many of the Persians that you can throw in jail, and that periodically raises its head and threatens the mullahs. So it's not like this partially decapitated leadership in Iran holds all the cards sitting at the table. They have a series of problems themselves, and whether they will be able to capitalize on a leadership change in the United States down the road remains an important part of the question. Of course, none of that factors into any of the news analysis coming from the left these days, because everything it's like a message in concert from the leftist media that says this thing was an unbridled disaster orchestrated by Donald Trump, and it's a long time until the midterms come, and if the economy turns around, gas prices go way down. They were in the $5 range during the Biden administration. These people seem to forget that.
They forget that, yeah.
And if the gas prices come way down and the economy picks up, the midterms, I don't think it's etched in stone that there's going to be a big Democratic wave in these midterms. There's a long way in terms of politics to go, and so it's just going to be interesting. It's just going to be interesting to see what happens, and to see several weeks from now what the assessment of what Donald Trump did in Iran in terms of the people. I heard a commentator today say that, and there's some logic to what he said, that the American populace only cares about two things, those that are in the middle. They only care about two things: the price at the gas pump number one. And number two, was there anything accomplished with curbing the Iranian nuclear program? Those are the two things that this whole effort is going to be judged on, and we'll see a few weeks from now how all that plays out.
Well, I just want to go on record and saying I do not believe that this has been an unmitigated disaster, and I think that as people of faith, we need to have a little faith in our president. I don't agree with his criticism of Israel. I think it's been unfair. This is the only thing about this, and I want to get your opinion about this. The only thing about this that's really bothered me, and it's troubled me, is that he has tried to tie Israel's hands. I would hate to believe that Israel has been left out in the cold on this. And again, what you said a while ago, I think as long as that provision is in there, that Israel has still a right to defend herself against the Hezbollah terrorist group in Lebanon. And the Lebanon tonight has outlawed any IRGC officials from entering its country now. I don't think it's the Lebanese government as much as it is that terrorist group that is within the government and within the borders of Lebanon. And to get to the terrorist group, you've got to go after Lebanon. And, this is the hypocrisy of the Iranians. They told Trump last week that they would not come to the table because Israel was attacking Lebanon. Well, the Lebanese government, James, they don't want Hezbollah in their region no more than Israel wants them there. It's not the Lebanese government. They're going after Iran's puppets. So I think providing that there's no restraint on Israel, and that's been the only thing about this that I've had a little problem with what how he's handled it, is that you cannot blame Israel for defending itself. And brother, if we were getting 100 to 200 rockets a night being shot over our southern border into our Texas towns and New Mexico towns, we would be raising something below with a very hot temperature. And I tell you what we'd do. We'd own Mexico. We'd have a freaking American flag sitting in Mexico City tonight, because we wouldn't play around with that. I would hope not. And that's to me, it's the same parallel with Israel, and I don't see it being complicated. So I think you're right about that. And do you think that Trump is serious about that with Israel's defense? He's been on the phone with Bibi every day this week, just screaming, "You're ruining my peace deal." I don't see where Bibi's ruining his peace deal. You've got no peace if they don't stop shooting, brother.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to, as I tried to describe early on, I think a major piece of this entire puzzle, a major thread of the entire tapestry of what's going to go from here forward in the Middle East is the autonomy Israel retains in reacting against Hezbollah, Hamas, and the other terrorist groups that threaten their existence. And I would hope that a mainstay of American foreign policy is still to give Israel a free hand to defend itself. That would certainly make sense to me. But from what I am hearing, and of course everything comes through a filter, but there are several of the newspapers in Jerusalem and in Israel that are afraid that this deal is going to be even worse than the Obama deal, in that it is going to absolutely put the clamps on what Israel
can do
in terms of autonomy of action, and that Bibi's his strategy has completely, it all echoes what they're saying about Trump here. And that Bibi's strategy in what has happened has completely failed, and that this thing's going to turn out to be a disaster for Israel.
Well,
we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
But I will tell you this, friend, from a spiritual standpoint, and I would say even from a geopolitical standpoint, if what you just said is true, and we have hamstrung them and trying to take away their autonomy to defend themselves, it will be a disaster. It will be a mitigated disaster. I'm going to tell you something. I do not believe that God is pleased with such a deal if that's the case. And you got to realize this, James, and I think you do. When I say you, I think what I'm saying is our audience, and I think you already realize this. I know I do. That you're dealing with Israel's mortal enemy. You are dealing with one of the few nations that outwardly call for her destruction every day. It's not like that Iran is it's not like Egypt, who may not like Israel. They may hate Israel's guts, but they're in a peace treaty with them. They don't go out of their way to get in Israel's way. They just peacefully coexist, even though they hate each other. I would say the same thing about Syria to a degree. Jordan, same way. And there's other nations in the Middle East that are no friends of the Jews. They just are not. I don't think any of them are. But they don't go out of their way to go to their social media post every day and say, death to America, death to Israel. The Zionist regime is going to go away tomorrow. Allah will, blow up the Jews tomorrow. And just every single day, nothing but threats coming from this regime. Only Iran, buddy. Only Iran. Even Iraq don't even do that. And Iraq hates Israel too. And if I'm in Israel's place and I've got a mortal enemy, and then the United States is shaking hands with her and saying, okay, well, we want to get Trump's legacy out there to say that he's brought peace to the Middle East, and he's shaking hands with her enemies, I'd be a little upset too. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, when I offered that opinion earlier, I'm not saying that was my view.
I know what you're saying. I do. I knew that. Yeah, I understood that.
I'm saying that at least from a media perspective, that's what they think is going on in Israel right now. That sort of thinking. No, I'm with you from a spiritual dynamic. There would be a price to pay for the United States if we would turn our back completely on Israel. We just can't do that. I say that on one hand. On the other hand, we both know from Scripture, from the prophetic passages, that as we get closer to the end of time, Israel is going to be left pretty much on its own, without a major patron of any sort. And I think the United States should be very, very careful about cutting off the cord and all the ties to Israel. I think there would be a spiritual price to pay in this country. That's my belief.
I do too. Do you think Trump sees that? Do you think that he's aware of that?
I know that there are some people around Trump that are spiritually savvy, that are warning him that's a definite possibility. Whether the hubris of the man takes that on or not, I'm not sure.
Where do you think Huckabee stands in this? It's amazing. He's been very quiet over the last month. Usually he'll chime in about these things, and I have watched his X account. He's been very quiet. Rubio's been very quiet over the last few weeks. J.D. Vance seems to be the point man on this, and J.D. is saying a lot of things that people are just rolling their eyes at. Nothing against our vice president. But it seems like it makes, and I just want to say this, I see some of the cynicism in the chat, and I don't think we need to be cynical. I think we need to have faith. I have faith in President Trump, and I'm with you. We wait and see how this plays out. Whether the Iranians uphold their deal or not is ultimately up to the Iranians. I think that Trump's the kind of president that if they don't, then, they're going to feel the wrath of Donald John Trump. And the American military. But what I'm concerned about is that Israel, in defending themselves, what we're almost making it impossible not to happen, James, is that Israel's going to be at odds with us. And I mean, we're looking at a conflict. I wouldn't say we'd be looking at a military conflict with them, but we could very well be on the other side of this thing with Israel. And again, in placating her enemy, brother, that's insanity. That's insanity. And I'm just like you. I'm hoping somebody that's got some sense. And I'm wondering if Huckabee is, because Huckabee's a Christian. He's a Christian pastor, and he knows the biblical implications of this. And I'm like you. I'm praying him and Rubio were saying, "Hey, be careful. I know you're walking a fine line here, but be careful with how you handle the Jewish state."
Yes. Well, I think Huckabee was slapped down for a couple statements that he made that hit the news channels over in the Middle East, and so he's been very, very quiet, and probably that's by design and by instructions from C Street that he sort of toned it down, and so that to me sort of explains that. But what I see going on, Chris, is like in a relationship between a man and a woman, and and as the relationship goes on in time, the worst thing to happen, and there's a rupture between the two. Sometimes it goes into an outright hostility situation, but that's not the real enemy of a functioning relationship. It's indifference.
That's very true.
Very, very rarely is it a hate situation. I mean, sometimes it is, but it's when you don't care anymore, and I think that at the end of the day, that the trajectory will be in that direction. We won't be hostile to Israel, the state of Israel, but we just won't be warm and fuzzy to them. We won't care anymore. They'll be treated just like every other country in the Middle East. There'll be nothing special about the relationship, and it will cool to that extent, and that may be a worse outcome than what you were talking about before.
Yeah, I'll agree. It would be. Well, and again, James, I hate to say this, but I would have expected that out of a Biden administration, but I sure don't expect it out of this one. I would have never expected it out of this one. And I guess we'll have to wait and see on that. But I think that does not bode well for any party. And I'm an American first. I love America. But I love God more than I love my country. God is important to me. He's number one. I respect the nation of Israel. I know their government has just as many warts, just as many deep state players as we do. But I also know the biblical future of this tiny nation. And I'm telling you, it is a spiritual exercise what we're doing right now. And I hope to God that somebody will tell that to President Trump. I think he understands that, but I think what your scenario you just played out there, to me, is scarier. That if we just start, again, treating her like any other nation, then, if people don't believe that God will remove his hand of blessing, they don't have to believe that. I do. I do believe that he removes his hand of blessing over this country.
I do too, and in my writings, I portray it this way, and I've said it before on your program. Judgment towards individuals, God looks through the prism of what they do with his son, Jesus Christ. That is the way individual judgment is meted out. The way God judges countries in his word, it appears repeatedly, is how they treat Israel.
Very true.
And so if our country, speaking, elevating it up and looking at it from a 50,000-foot perspective, the way God judges countries is how they treat Israel, and we are drifting in a danger category if we distance ourselves from Israel, and I'm not sure exactly where throwing Netanyahu under the bus, fits on that sort of spectrum, but there's certainly a feeling in Israel, especially among the patriots and the right wing advocates of a strong Israeli military state in the Middle East, that Trump, with his plans and concern for his legacy and obsessive look at the midterm elections, may be willing to throw Netanyahu under the bus. And if I was advising the president, which I'm not, I would say you really need to be cautious about doing that.
I'll agree with that. Couldn't say it better. I couldn't have said it better. What did you think about the Washington D.C. extravaganza over the weekend, the UFC fight? I've never seen D.C. lit up so more patriotic, and I'll just, as an extension of this, Trump's a builder. And I shared this with our Bible students this morning in our study. Look, I think that he needs to be applauded, James, for his efforts to clean up D.C., not just with the crime, but the whole view of it. I've been up there. I was up there about a year and a half ago. Had not been to the Right to Life March. Never went during the Biden years. But when Trump got reelected, I went. I was saddened to see the state of affairs along the streets in D.C., how nasty these tent cities were. There was so much trash on the street, and I knew good and well that we could do better as a country. And Trump has made it his priority to clean up that reflection pool at night is as beautiful as I've ever seen it. As many years I've been to D.C., the city, it was patriotic again. We're proud of being an American again. It's okay to shoot fireworks again. It's okay to show the red, white, and blue on the Washington Monument. It's okay for us to say, God bless America. It's okay for the UFC fighters to witness about Jesus, as one of them did who won last night. It feels good that we are enjoying the fact that we're Americans again. It's a good thing, isn't it? And these ugly Dems, I swear, look, there's a video out. We thought we had downloaded it, but somebody did a collage today about what the White House was doing in 2024, the same time, right before Biden left, compared to what Trump did this summer in 26. And I'm not saying this in any kind of judgment, but it was nothing but a transgender, perverse display of homosexuality, lesbianism, transgenders, even mocking, just basically promoting pedophilia with some of the symbolism and targeting the kids. The White House lawn was turned into a Sodom and Gomorrah, basically, expedition. It's what it was. And the Dems are screaming tonight that Trump is tearing, there was one individual on MS Now, or not MS Now, but one of these guys that got fired, it was on his podcast, and she said that this UFC fight was likened to white slavery, that it was bringing back images of slavery on the White House lawn. I mean, you have to stretch. You got to be a total moron without a cell in your brain to try to bring that kind of analogy into this. But this is what the left does. But they've got no problem, James, with parading perversion and sickening abomination, wickedness in the sight of God. I'm not saying this in a self-righteous, judgment, smug way. I'm saying it, though, is that they don't have any problem with that, but they've got a problem with us celebrating our country. I don't. It's good to see it. Is it not?
No, I agree with you. I think it's a good thing. Speaking as a former resident of the greater Washington, D.C. area, it's good that the streets are cleaned up, that there's order brought to the streets, that is safe to walk in parts of D.C. for the first time in a long time. And that there are signs of patriotism that you see. I don't see anything wrong with that. I do think that in that regard, to try to turn the mindset of the country back towards those things that are decent and consistent with our history. I do think that Trump needs to be congratulated for that, for stopping the illegals coming across the border. I think he's to be congratulated for that. And again, he's not going to win every victory, and the courts have certainly dealt him a couple setbacks in recent days, but for the most part, this whole idea of not apologizing anymore about being an American, but to be proud of our heritage, I think is a positive development. Now, what we are concerned about, and you and I have talked about it many, many times, how lasting is this going to be?
That's so true. That's it. That's the $1 million question, brother.
Is it going to survive? There are already all sorts of studies that we may have lost a couple generations, but that the younger generations are more in tune with this whole new trend of the way the country views itself than these past couple generations have been lost. We will see, and I'm excited too about a possible spiritual revival. I think this country really needs it. We will see whether this is a lasting phenomenon or whether it is tied to a person and fades away in the future.
I hope it. That's James. I think that's going to be the question going forward, even beyond 2029. And this is why we got to be very careful. And even I'm saying this to folks that support President Trump. Look, as much as I love him, we don't worship him. He's a man. And I respect him, I appreciate him, and I'm willing to say when I disagree with him. It doesn't mean that I don't support him, because there's a lot. I don't agree with people in my own family. Sometimes it doesn't mean we don't get together at Thanksgiving deal and hug each other and laugh at each other and scream at each other. Sometimes we put our arms around each other and that's McDonald's, and that's what we do. I mean, we love hard and we argue hard and then we make up hard. I mean, that's just how we are. And I mean, we don't lose family relationships over disagreements, because family's going to disagree. And there's times that I disagree with what he does. But overall, I will tell you, and I'll say this tonight, I think we're going to miss him when he's gone. And I think we're going to rue the day that many people tried to fight this and I'm talking about Christians, I'm talking about believers. And we're going to rue the day, and we're going to look back on this time of history and say we didn't have it any better in the White House than we did with him. He's done his best. And look, again, I may not agree with every jot and tittle that he's doing in this Iranian deal, but at least he's trying to do something. At least he's trying. At least he's trying to bring peace to Ukraine and Russia. He may not succeed, but thank God the man's trying. And that to me is righteousness. That is at least a righteous effort to bring peace to the earth. There's nothing wrong with that. I know we're in the time that we're in. I get it. I get that there's no peace coming till Jesus comes, but at least the man's trying. He's trying to get the country back out of lawlessness. He's trying to close the border. He's trying to get rid of this fraud. I read a report today. Do you realize if we clean up all this fraud in Minnesota and California? By the way, Gavin Newsom and his lovely wife are under federal investigation tonight for fraud. But, you know, Jim, we'd have enough money almost to pay our debt off if we got rid of the fraud in our government. That's sickening to know that we've let all that money get free and nobody's ever made an effort to stop it. At least Trump's trying. And that's what I say tonight. You know, I'll let you wrap us up on that. You have to tip your hat to him. And I'll tell you something else, and I'll leave this be. The church needs to thank him for making the country as free as possible for us to observe our faith without persecution. There's been no president like him that has stood up for the Christian faith than Trump. He has done his dead level best to make sure that the Christian faith is free to preach the gospel if we do it. What say you on that, and wrap us up on that thought?
I agree. There are several things that's undeniable that Donald Trump has tried to get this country to turn a corner on. I disagree with him on a lot of things, but that, I think, is an unqualified positive aspect of this presidency. Now there are problems. There are some things I wish that we would start addressing some of these government expenditure programs before they put my grandkids in a hole that they will never dig out of.
Right.
Because Washington can't say no to increased spending patterns. We are sowing the seeds of disaster. We are rapidly moving towards where servicing the debt, the money that's required just to service our debt is going to, within 5 years or so, become the biggest government outlay, even exceeding what we earmark for defense and for other social programs. It is racing exponentially to that point. And with fewer people working, and with AI, if all the projections are true, there'll be fewer people still working, and you are going to have a major budgetary problem. I wish we would address that in a more meaningful way. But in terms of trying to turn the corner, instill a sense of patriotism, that it's time to be proud again to be an American, and that service to this country is a worthwhile objective. Whereas in the past 2 or 3 administrations, they haven't been able to fill their recruitment goals, you now have young people that are looking to the service and to government service again as worthwhile vocations to look into. I think all of that is positive. I agree with you absolutely that this administration has helped level the table so that Christians feel comfortable about meeting in their churches. It was all sliding the opposite direction before the second Trump administration. I agree with all of that, and certainly American power has been exercised abroad for the first time in a long time.
Yes.
And we need to take a position of leadership in the free world instead of the Obama equation of leading from behind. And so I agree with all of those things, that there has been a change in the mindset of this country, which is a positive development. And I also agree with you that we don't worship the man, but we applaud when he moves this country, which is in a spiritually correct position from my perspective.
I do too.
And that needs to be applauded, and he needs to be congratulated for that. And we, for those things where his hubris sort of takes over, and he does some things that are questionable, we need to have the courage and the integrity to call those things to task as well. But the report card from the Akers position is that Donald Trump, compared to previous administrations, in terms of foreign policy, domestic policy, in terms of turning the mindset around, those things certainly get high marks, and so that's my position on that.
No, I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you. And I couldn't have said it better. Well, listen, I'm sure that we'll have you back on later this week, perhaps. If we get without somebody, we'll have you Friday night. Man, we might have a Friday night wrap-up show with you, too. You're always great. I appreciate you always answering the call when I call, and I really mean that. We'll see you soon. Enjoyed the Reds game with you here a few weeks ago, and we're going to do another one soon. And you know, I don't know if we're going to help your baseball team play any better, but you know, we can always try. But we'll at least help the economy at the Great American Ballpark and buying those hot dogs and Cokes, right, and popcorn. We'll at least help. We'll at least do that.
We'll do our share in that department for sure.
Bless your friend. Get some rest. Be safe up there, and I'll see you soon. God bless, James. Have a good night.
God bless.
You too.
You bet.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
James Akers, everybody. Put some fire in that house. What a great guy right there. So grateful for him. Appreciate him. And we hope that you enjoyed him tonight. Now, I'm going to do something real quick. We got several videos, but we got all week. And we'll be, we're going to show a couple of them tonight, but I want to take just a few minutes. I'm not going to be here much longer. It's 11 o'clock in the East tonight. But if you would like to put some fire in that house for him, if you enjoyed him tonight, and give us a thumbs up. He did a good job, didn't he? Good to see Pat and Deb Dolan. Good to see everybody. Good to see Debbie and Dean Courtwright. And Pat, you say he's concerned about his legacy. That's what's disappointing. Well, you know, look, it's Trump, and I'm not going to argue the point on that. I maybe that's what it is. You know, maybe it's that he's so anxious to get peace that he's willing to do this at any cost, which can be dangerous sometimes. I am going to be the first to tell you I'm very concerned about some of the language in this agreement. And I think there are the conflicting statements between Vance and him and other people that have looked at the agreement. They say something different. You know, I think that once we see the actual wording and what the Iranians agreed to and what they don't is when the proof of the pudding. And I will tell you this, I have trust in Bibi Netanyahu tonight that he is not going to stand by and let Israel be pushed around by Iran and by the United States. He's just not. I love that nation, and I love this country. It's my country. America's my country. But I also recognize the spiritual ramifications of what we're doing, and it's, you know, I'm very, very, very troubled at some of the language. And having said that, I support what President Trump is doing with Iran. At least he's trying. And I will tell you this, even if we get them to the table to agree to turn over that nuclear material, that is something that no president has been able to get for 47 years. That is an accomplishment. And I guess the other will just have to be worked out over time. I would hope it's not about legacy. I would hope that that's not true. But, you know, if it is, then that's Trump, and he's going to have to deal with that with the Lord. he'll have to deal with that with the Lord. I'll just leave it at that. Good to see John Mertz in the house. Lucy, good to see you tonight. All you folks over in Facebook. And if you got any comments, some of you wanted to talk a while ago, and now it's your turn. Go ahead and say what you got to say. And while you're doing that, since I don't have any comments in the house, I want to play a video or two tonight. This is, I don't know if you saw this last night. This was incredible what was going on in D.C. I'm so excited about our 250th anniversary coming up here in July. This is last night at the UFC fight. The only people that were upset about that's our military, by the way. The only people that was upset about those airlines flying over last night, those airplanes, U.S. Air Force flying over, were the left. Were the left. There's President Trump, and unbelievable display of patriotism last night. And here is some more of that. Here is... and I put this out tonight. This is what we voted for. This is last night, too. Look at that. Look how beautiful that was. Good to see you, Mark Kaysen. That's what we voted for. I'm going to ask you a question tonight. I won't put it in an official poll. I'll let you put it out there. Is there anybody in our chat tonight that thinks that is desecrating the White House? Do you see anything in that video I just showed you that is degrading the White House, like the left is screaming tonight? Barack Obama's saying that tonight. All the left loons are saying that tonight. The media is saying that tonight. Is there anything in that video that you see that is degrading? I'm going to show you something this week that is degrading, but it didn't download. This is Mauricio Ruffy after he won the fight last night. If you don't think God was in all this, and I'm not saying that the fight, God's into fighting and boxing, but it's amazing that God was glorified in even the match.
Spectacular event. Thank you so much. I'm so happy. And I have a message. In John chapter 3 verse 16 say, "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life." Jesus changed my life. Jesus saved my life. Jesus wanna save your life too. Give your life to Jesus. Thank you so much.
That was last night at this same event that the left says is degrading the White House. Was there anything you see in this? Please tell me. If you think that's degrading, folks, this is what's making our country right now. It's what makes us feel good about our country again. I know it's just fireworks. I know it's just Air Force planes. But when I see those planes go over, I was telling my son in a letter I wrote to him out in Lackland. He's halfway there in boot camp, and I said, son, you don't know that when you gave that pledge that day, your dad wanted to drop that camera and get in that line and raise his right hand with you and go fight alongside you. Go back and join the Air Force with you. I love what our country feels like right now, coming from this White House. I do. And we should be proud of it, folks. We should be proud of America. Yesterday was Flag Day. And we should be proud of it. And yesterday was also President Trump's 80th birthday. Happy birthday. Happy 80th birthday to our leader and our president. And I appreciate everything that he's trying to do. As I said, I don't have to agree with every jot and tittle to support him and to be grateful that God has got him in office. I'm just saying. It was very magnificent. Let's see what we got here. Anybody has anything to say? Let's see here. God bless America. Good to see Pastor Jim and Yoli Ortiz in the house tonight. Good to see you guys. God bless you guys. Jones says, absolutely, I do not think fireworks would hurt the White House unless they were inside. Unless they were inside. I'll agree with that. Folks, there's nothing wrong with this. Nothing wrong with this at all. And yesterday was Flag Day. We should be proud of our nation tonight. I'm going to wrap this up. We got a lot to talk about. We've got some jam-up guests starting tomorrow night. Andy Berger will be with us at 9 o'clock Eastern. We probably have Leslie on late tomorrow night, and we'll talk more about this, play more video, because we got a lot to show you, a lot to talk about with the headlines. I want to come over our newswire. I want to show you Gateway Pundit. Trump's at the G7 right now. He says the Iran deal will bring a lot of success to the world. We'll see about that. The Strait of Hormuz is to fully open on Friday. I'm praying that will be so. And I can tell you the White House, the stock market and the gas tanks are feeling it already. Gas has dropped almost 60 cents a gallon here in Alabama, and the same thing up in Tennessee. We're down almost to $3.30, $3.20. It was at $4 a gallon just a month ago, a few weeks ago actually, and so forth. Here's the Gateway Pundit. I wanted to pull the Gateway Pundit up and show you something. Just a couple of stories. And Gavin Newsom is under investigation tonight. We're going to have a discussion on that this week. By the way, this North Carolina student won a massive legal settlement after the school accused her of vandalism over a pro-Charlie Kirk message painted over a rock. And that would go without saying that somebody's going to be richer because of that. This is the insane liberal historian that was on Jim Acosta's program today, the late Jim Acosta, the absolute individual. But let's just play this.
What you are watching Trump do right now is deliberately tear that apart. And he is doing so on the same cultural argument, of course, that people used to back the first Gilded Age. That is, these culture wars that turn white Americans against marginalized people of color.
Right.
That's the bottom line there. So, I mean, it's not really a stretch to say that the same impulse that created the UFC fight on the White House lawn is the impulse that really pushed lynching in the late 19th century against black Americans overwhelmingly.
You have got to have no cell in your brain to believe that. So she's likening what went on, the fight last night, the UFC fight, the fireworks and all these extravagance, to lynching in the back in the day. That's the left. That's the left for you. Let's see here. One other quick thing, and then there's De Niro ranting and raving that he don't love America while xenophobic tyrant Trump is president. Well, leave, Robert. Your movies suck anyway, so nobody's going to miss you if you do. I wanted to come down here and show you the Hakeem Jeffries thing today that was so funny. He was complaining about the prices. Here is a journalist that was letting him have it. He says gas prices were up under Obama. Jeffrey says, well, listen. And he said, and Biden, right? Well, I'm not. Didn't we have gas prices over $5? Well.
Which is going to make their life
the gas
better.
Prices were this high under Obama, too. So.
Well, listen. No,
and Biden.
Well, I'm not.
Right? President Biden? Didn't we have gas prices at over $5?
No, well, there were gas prices in the immediate aftermath of
and I remember eggs were like $12 a dozen.
The left cannot handle it when you present them facts. They want to make everything about Trump. Let me tell you something tonight as a close. Please enjoy your country. Be proud you're an American. Be proud that we're free. Be proud that we have a president that cares about faith. And yes, we've had a little blip with our prices because we have been trying to tear down a fascist regime that has been killing people by the thousands for 47 years. Be grateful that you got a president that at least tries and cares about life. I may not agree with everything he's saying right now with Israel. I'm very concerned about the Israeli connection to this. But I am grateful that he has at least had the gumption to go after it and to do this. I'm grateful that he has kept our country basically free of crime, trying his best to. He's trying to shut down the illegal immigration. He's trying to shut down the fraud in these states. He's trying to make sure that your kindergartners are not lectured to by transgender homophobes that are in trans outfits reading them nursery rhymes. He's trying to keep men out of women's bathrooms. He's trying to keep schools from telling your 14-year-old they can be changing their gender without mom and daddy's permission. He's trying to keep a lot of this off of our kids. He's trying to make our country healthy again. He's trying to unravel the mystery. By the way, I don't know if you've heard this in the last couple of days, but the COVID-19 vaccine, they have found out they were hiding the health effects. Oh my God, did we not scream this? And we got kicked off we got one of our channels taken down because we had somebody come on this network and say that. We already knew that. But we were all called liars and we were all called conspiracy theorists when we told you that vaccine was killing you if you took it. Well, guess what? They're finding out now that it was. That they hid reports that they knew about 6 years ago that this thing was causing heart problems in people. And I got dear friends right now that took the shot and their heart has not been the same since. Dear friends my age or younger. My dad took it. And he was never the same after. We begged him not to, but he did. And there were many that took it and they didn't have an effect. But many of them have had the effect of the heart problem. We already told him. We already told you this. We already said that 6 years ago. We were labeled every name in the book. Censored like a dog. Networks taken down. Livelihoods lost. People fired from their jobs. Fired from their social media platforms for it. Well, guess what? It was coming to light that all that was true. We can talk about that this week. We're going to have Judge Sherilyn Allen on Thursday night. We had Andy Berger tomorrow night. We may have Josh Rosenstern on Wednesday night. If not, we got somebody else coming. And then we got a Friday night show. And then it's Father's Day weekend coming up this weekend. And we're going to have a good time on Father's Day. I'm so grateful you've been with me tonight. I really am. We've had such a wonderful Monday night. It's a little late. So I'm not going to keep you late tonight. I may keep you a little bit longer tomorrow. But grateful for everybody that's been here. And so forth. If you've been enjoying the show, put some fire in that house. And I can't wait, Carol, to see what he has in store for the 4th either. I'll agree with that. I really believe that. Anyway, I'm not sure what that means there. But anyway, if you've enjoyed the show tonight, put some fire in that house. We're grateful for you. We really are. We want to say thank you to James Akers tonight. And good to see old Mary Cleveland in the house. And just want to make sure, Bear, you're in the house. Good to see you tonight. And Zella, you're right about Obama. You know, it's funny you said that. I just downloaded something. If I can get this about Obama. Obama was out there tonight screaming about how bad the White House was. And the X-Account Maze just posted this. I'll go out on this tonight. The left is feigning outrage because, and that's what it is, it's feigning outrage. I see a lot of self-righteous Christians do that all the time. They like to get triggered about something and they have this feigning outrage because Trump had UFC at the White House and is extravagantly celebrating America's 250th birthday. Trump has degraded the White House. That's what Obama said today. What's worse, having public patriotic displays to celebrate our country or regularly turning the White House into a private nightclub for celebrities and elites. Speaking of Obama, during his presidency, Obama would regularly throw late-night parties at the White House. These were exclusive private parties for celebrities, rappers, musicians, actors, and other elites who supported Obama, details of which were all kept hidden from the public. Obama said that he didn't need to share the details of these parties because he was picking up the tab for the food, alcohol, entertainment, and whatever else they were doing. But all that was okay. Press wasn't allowed. No photos were allowed of guests entering or leaving. No guest list, just a bunch of celebrities regularly partying in private until 4 a.m. at the people's house, as they call it. Usher, Jay-Z were regulars. Snoop Dogg said he smoked weed at the White House. John Legend and his wife joked about having sex at the White House. Apparently that's not degradation of the White House, but public celebrations of patriotism are. Do not be ashamed of your patriotism tonight. Please don't be. I'm not going to be. We're going to celebrate it hard in July. July is going to be America 250 month here on this show, and we're going to go all out. We're going to enjoy America. We're going to go to Long Island, New York, and enjoy America July 24th, 25th, and 26th. We're going to enjoy this country, and we need to enjoy it, neighbor. It's ours. God shed His grace on it, and we don't need to be ashamed of it. I will add a little caveat to this, and I'll show you the video tomorrow night. I got one that's got the comparison. It's not just Obama. Joe Biden regularly had, again, transgenders marching on the White House lawn, turning the pillars of the White House rainbow color to celebrate nothing but an abominable perversion. Nothing but abominable perversion. So, to the left, we don't care what you think. We don't care what you feel. We don't care your feigned outrage. Robert De Niro, you think that Trump's a xenophobic tyrant? Leave. It don't faze us anymore. You created this monstrosity. You created this abomination of this stuff right here. You degraded. Look, I didn't like Obama because I did not respect Obama because Obama did not respect the office of president. People hate Trump because he does respect it. And we need to recognize the difference in the two. Obama and Biden didn't respect the office. They didn't respect the White House enough not to allow this. But yet, when Trump does something to promote the country, he's degrading the White House. That's what we call hypocrisy. And that's why we don't care what you leftists think. Rant and rave and beat your little forks on your little table that you're not getting your little peas and carrots and we're feeding you like a baby because that's what you're acting like. This host don't care what you think. We're proud of our country. And I'm proud of my president. I'm proud of my faith. I'm proud that I'm a Christian. I'm proud that the Lord Jesus, I like this young man, so proud of what he said. There, he could have said a million things. What did he do? He quoted John 3:16 at the UFC fight last night. Even the fight itself brought glory to God. We shouldn't be ashamed of that. We shouldn't be ashamed of that. And you shouldn't either. God bless you. God bless this country. God bless this great nation of America. And God bless President Trump. God bless Israel tonight. And I'll see you back here in the morning early. And then tomorrow night with Andy Berger. We're going to talk about the 425,000 missing kids that the Biden administration let go missing, and they don't have any idea where they're at tonight. And Todd Blanche's comments. We're going to talk to Andy about that and some other things. And updates on the fraud investigation now of one Gavin Newsom. Yippee! Far out, man. Far out. Have a good night, everybody. Be blessed out there on this Monday Night Mayhem and Madness with the Mac.